Dun, 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 dun. Hello and welcome to a podcast about something where each week we dive deep into whatever it is we find interesting. I'm your host, Kalvin, and joining me from beyond the wall, it's Nick Richardson.
Hey man, it is cold as shit out here.
Well, come south. We got dragons and shit down south.
I'm on my way down south, but I'm sorry.
Do you have a dead white with you? Do you have a zombie with you to show us so we know that the army of the dead is real?
I have a straight up army of the dead to show you. So what you want?
Oh, you're the Night King
good,
now.
Bro.
All right.
Yeah, we share the first two letters of the our first names.
That's
so
true.
Whatever. It's destiny, man.
Night King, Nick, yeah, same thing. Exact same
ring.
thing.
I like the ring to that.
Yeah. So if you haven't figured it out yet, we are talking about Game of Thrones, and more specifically, we're talking Game of Thrones versus A Song of Ice and Fire. We have both read the books. We've both seen the show. There will be spoilers for each side, so this is your warning. If you don't want to be spoiled, like if you're still catching up through first seasons 1 through 7, or haven't read the books and want to and haven't finished them, we're going to be spoiling shit. So
yes,
get out now or be spoiled, basically.
Yes, get out.
So I'm getting pretty excited for season 8. Season 7 left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. We'll get to that when we get to that. But there have been new action figures and toys at Target that I've started buying.
Yes.
I watched the season 7 recap today, which watching all of season 7 in 30 minutes really makes it good. Watching it over like 7.5 hours, though, do not recommend.
Be tough.
Yeah.
Can be tough. Me and my wife have been actually rewatching. We started at season 3, and we're moving on to. We're almost into season 7 now.
Nice.
Yeah, we're pretty excited.
You guys must have a lot more time on your hands.
We've been staying up way later than we should, but it's worth it.
Yeah, that's good. We tried to start a rewatch and just like I couldn't do it. We made it halfway through episode 1 of season 7, and I was just like, no, I can't do it. Like there's too many stupid decisions. And again, we'll talk about that. But we are here to talk about the books versus the show, what we're missing, what you like, what we don't like, everything in between. So here's the most important questions. What did you consume first? Did you read the books first or did you watch the show first?
I was lucky enough to have read the books first.
Ooh,
specifically, it's going to get a whole lot nerdier.
Oh, can't wait.
So I was hanging out with this Wiccan chick, and she gave me, we shared books a lot. Like she also gave me a 1930s historical museum textbook. So, I mean, it's super awesome. It's got a bunch of cool shit. And Game of Thrones, the original first edition volume. And I read some of it. I didn't really, grab onto it at the time.
The first book is a little slow going.
I wasn't necessarily looking for his writing style at that time. Like I was really into Chuck Palahniuk at the time, so his totally contrasting writing style. But then, of course, you hear the show's coming out, so it's like, ooh, I gotta get caught up.
What was that Wiccan chick's number? I gotta get her on the phone.
She doesn't use phones, bro.
No, I meant that was your mind frame at the time when the show was coming. Not like I don't want her number. I'm good.
Hell no, man. It was I gotta go to Barnes and Noble and do whatever I can not to run into this Wiccan chick. She told me I was going to die through tarot cards, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think we can hang out anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure, though, like, with tarot cards, that's what everybody, like, that's the only thing you can guess at. Like, otherwise it's not interesting. If you're just like, oh, you're going to live a boring life and be happy, like, nobody's going to go see your tarot reading.
True that. They're not going to be like, oh, sweet, thank you, the comfort. We want to be fucked with, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. There's no other way to put it. I was a show first person. I was very happy being blissfully ignorant to the larger world at play. And then season 5 came, and we got into Dorne, and like I started reading like posts on Quora from this one woman named Kelsey Hayes, who posts a lot on there, answers a lot of questions about Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire, doing a lot of like expanded world stuff. People would ask questions about why is this here and the blah blah blah. She would give really good, thoughtful answers. I read all these Ringer articles from people who had read the books, which at the time I think it was still Grantland, and listen to their podcasts when they would mix people who hadn't read the books with people who had read the books, and everybody who had read the books now at this point was like, you're still missing, like, this isn't all it seems like. It just felt like the world was so much bigger than what we had.
Absolutely. And
it is.
It is, man. And the one mindset I had to take, which I don't understand why more people don't do so, it makes it both more enjoyable, is they're separate entities. Yes, but that's half the fun of it. There's a TV show and there's books. It's great to have two different things. It just sucks when we'll get into that. It just sucks whenever. Yeah.
Yeah, it might suck. But so then after season 5 was over, I was like, all right, I'll read it. I did the audiobooks. I didn't read it, but I did the audiobooks. I have like an hour to and from work every day. Did them on like 1.5 speed. So like I kind of got through them pretty quick, or relatively quick for, 700-page long books.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. 1.5 speed.
Yeah, and I got through it before season 6, and then season 6 comes, and I find myself like all of a sudden turned into one of these, well, the show's not as good as the books. Like I didn't expect that to happen. I kind of expect to be able to separate them in my mind, but like with season 6 and season 7, you really started to see the disconnect between the two things. And
Absolutely.
we'll talk more on what those disconnects were, but like as soon as I finished reading the books, I realized like it doesn't matter that we missed out on young Griff, or that, they did something different in Dorne. It's how they went about leaving those things out or doing those different things.
Exactly. It almost hurt a little bit. Like, like I said, I keep them separate in my mind, but I'm hoping I can do that
for season 8 because they're so far removed now. So I'm hoping that like I can just consume season 8 as it is, and hopefully they put a little more time and effort into. I mean, they definitely put more time into it. Hopefully they put more effort into it, and hopefully it will show, and I'll be able to at least walk away saying like, okay, that's good.
After those previews, I'm so pumped. It looks awesome, and I'm sick of waiting for George R.R. Martin, man. I can't. It's annoying as hell. I want to read his books.
Yeah, like it's gonna be hard if this is the only ending we get. I don't think it will be, even if George dies. I think there's hope, because the people who wrote The World of Ice and Fire, which I have next to me, Elio Garcia and Linda Antonsen, like they have a lot of insight into his world and like into his notes and things like that. And I think even if he dies, like they may be able to finish it for him. But it would be somewhat of a shame if this is all we get, even if it's good.
Yeah.
And we don't get the real ending.
Well, I never even thought of that. I pretty much just assume he's got them done somewhere.
I think more or less. I think like the ending is done. He just has to get the people to the ending in a way that makes sense. So it'll really take, and that's kind of what one of the problems of the show has been, is getting, they know the ending, so how do we get the people to the ending? And they don't understand the characters enough, it seems like, to get them there in a logical way. So, you already said why you started on the books. You had that Wiccan chick who got you all involved, and then you fell off and came back, and you watched the show because you watched the show. And I was actually late to the show, and the only reason I watched it is from the recommendation of Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec.
Really?
Yeah. So like early on, like they made a few jokes about him liking Game of Thrones, and I was like, and I had like heard about it, but I had never like looked into it any. I don't know if I had HBO at the time or not. I don't think I did. So like it wasn't coming up on my cable. Like I wasn't seeing previews for it. It wasn't what it is now. Obviously, this was still season 1 had ended. So I watched season 1 sometime after it ended, after they kept making jokes about Ben liking it and just how much he seemed to like it. I was like, all right, if Ben Wyatt likes it, I will probably like it.
Most definitely.
He's my type of dude. So I binged the first season. It was very hard with the accents and the people looking alike and, trying to keep track of everyone. And then season 2 was coming because they had a pretty big gap between season 1 and season 2. And so season 2 was coming up. So I watched 1 again, and then watched 2. And then like the next time I watched 1 and 2 before 3 came out, my wife was like, why do you keep watching this show? What is it? Because like all these weird things are happening that she's just like in the periphery of. She's not paying attention. I'm like, you got to watch it. Like, this is Game of Thrones. You got to watch it. And she started watching with me and got very involved too. She has not read the books though.
Ooh, she's good. I mean, I understand she's, everybody is busy and hell.
Yeah.
I was lucky when I was able to read all the books because I was young and I could stay up for 35 hours straight without, giving a damn. But I remember sitting at a party reading A Feast for Crows cover to cover over a span of like 5 hours, man. It's like I can speed read pretty quick. I was just chugging beer, parties going around me, and
life of the party there.
Well, everybody was making fun of me. And it's like, fuck all you guys. That's why
dragons. Come on.
Well,
actually, dragons aren't in that one, but.
Well, in my head, honestly, I'm thinking, I could sit here and read this book and not say a word, and I'd still get laid before all you fucks. So, how you like them apples? And I just kind of went about my business. But for the show, I was pretty, I don't know, as soon as I heard about it, I was game. Because I had serious Lord of the Ring withdrawals. I loved Lord of the Rings when it came out, in theaters and out on DVD. And
what's your take on The Hobbit?
Hate them.
I really like the second one, or like the last half hour of the second one.
I like the first one, first hour of the first one.
Like the last half hour of the second one, I was like, oh, that was actually pretty good. Like when he gets to Smaug and everything like that, and I was like, oh, that was pretty good. I want to actually see what happens next with Smaug, and then Smaug dies in the first 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, glad I watched it.
This is dumb. Yeah, I just too much, but I thought Lord of the Rings was beautifully well done. And
yes, it was.
I mean, Helm's Deep, I remember seeing that in theaters in the Two Towers, and I was just in awe, and I'm still in awe, and that's why I'm so excited that they're kind of going for that 2-hour-long fight sequence kind of like that. So that's kind of what pushed me to watch the show for sure. I was on the fence about it, but it's like, ooh, cool, knights, and there's like hardly any magic. It's kind of on the periphery. It doesn't have elves and orcs and stuff, but cool, big battles, sword fights, so there.
Yeah, also check out You Are All Alone if you want more sword fights and battles and things like that.
Please do.
So let's get into kind of some comparisons, I guess, between books and show. Maybe not too specific, but, just general things that are done differently. Like, in your mind, what is the best part of the books? What do the books do? What did George do best with the books?
Character development by far.
Yeah, that's one of my things.
That is absolutely above and beyond the most important and the one that stands out the most to me. Because you can follow the thought processes behind the characters, and it breathes so much more life into the characters than anything
the
on
decisions
the
the characters make sense for them.
Yes.
Like it's not just, it doesn't ever feel like they're just doing it to advance the plot. It's like if the decision is not well thought out by the character, the decision to make the decision was well thought out by George.
Yes.
Like Dany's a great example. Doesn't always put a ton of thought into her decisions, but that has become part of her character, that she is a little impulsive and just does things on a whim. And they don't always agree with past things she's done.
Yes.
So freeing slaves and then letting people be enslaved. And she's not the most consistent character, but it's because that's part of her character, not because George is losing his writing.
Yes. I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to say. Like, she's not consistent, but she's consistently not consistent. It's a weird thing.
It makes perfect sense when you frame it like that.
What I think the world does best on top of character development is also world building. Like, so just this good. Huge, like the map, you can look at a map when he's talking about different things. You can picture it on the map if you've ever looked at a map. And even if you haven't looked at a map, you can kind of still picture how, Winterfell looks or the North looks. You can picture what the Riverlands are like. You can, it's easy to get lost in the world and want more of it. And that's why, people are interested in doing spin-off shows in this world, just because the world is a character in itself. You could do so much else within the world that it doesn't matter if Tyrion and Jon and Dany are there or not. Like, there's so much interesting things just in the way the world is set up.
Absolutely. And you make a great point with the maps and the geography of, the Seven Kingdoms. And dude, they're great. It doesn't make, when they're like, okay, I'm from Flea Bottom, and it's like, okay, Flea Bottom is a shithole. That's what the show has
really
shown
good
me.
at naming things.
I got a point
Really
about that one here in a second, but the way they describe Flea Bottom in the books, and just it's got a life of its own. It's its own character, just like the continent itself, and like Old Valyria and stuff like that is so much better fleshed out.
Well, and there's places that we haven't even seen yet that like I want to spend time in these places. The lands of always winter, shy by the shadow. You know, like these are places that are just hinted at that you want to go see because you know he's put so much thought into what they look like and how people from there are.
Yeah, and I totally agree. He has that way about him. You know that once we do get there, if we ever get there, there's a world already built, and he's going to fill it up more as we go. And I don't know, you make such a good point about him being great with names. Like, every battle he comes up with, I find, has great names.
Mm-hmm. Yes. He's very good at naming things. And then he's just, kind of to go along with that, just like little hidden details that he puts in, you know, leaving these breadcrumbs so that readers could figure out R plus L equals J, like on their, like everybody thinks that R plus L equals J is just this foregone conclusion, or has for the last, 6 years. Obviously it's real now because the show made it real. But, before that, before the show existed, that was just readers piecing together these little clues. Like Lyanna is barely in the books. She's barely mentioned. And people put this, like, went back through book 1 all the way through book 5 and put these little details together to come up with this theory that is actually the truth. And he leaves little breadcrumbs like that all over the place that people can follow. And that's what I like. And that goes along with the world building and character development.
Absolutely. And he's so good at that portion of it that your brain automatically picks up, I think, a lot of these tidbits. And it takes a certain amount of time till you connect them all together. But when you do, it's so fun. Well,
and like R plus L equals J. So I knew about that when I started reading the books, because I started reading them so late, coming into it, that I had read theories and things like that already. So that one was already spoiled for me. So like, it's really easy to pick up on it if you're reading through it and already know it.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
If you had no idea that existed, like you'd never pick it up. And unless you study because you have nothing better to do, because he hasn't written a book in 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick it up when I first went through, but I had a lot of the breadcrumbs in my mind. Like, I had a sneaking suspicion that there was more to Jon's heritage. Like, I wasn't...
Right.
I didn't see Rhaegar, and I thought there was some unknown, maybe Targaryen female that Ned banged and that gave birth to... Like, I didn't know, but I scoured Reddit and all that good stuff and found the answer eventually.
And things like...
those breadcrumbs really stand out after that.
Things like the story of the Night of the Laughing Tree, which we talked about when we did the Kingslayer episode. That was something that you thought the Night of the Laughing Tree was Jaime, but most of the fandom thinks it's Lyanna, and some people think it's Howland, and like there's different ways to interpret all of these little stories that he tells, and you could honestly put them together, and you can make the case for any of them to be true. It could be Jaime if you look at it in certain ways. It could be Lyanna if you look at it in different ways. It could be Howland if you look at it in an even different way. So it's crazy that he leaves these little breadcrumbs for people to piece together, and people come up with different logical explanations to back their theory.
Which is so much fun.
Yes.
You can get into good conversations with people about that stuff. And speaking of Howland Reed, dude, that is a crime that he's never appeared in the shows.
I'm holding out hope for season 8. We'll talk about season 8, but like I think he's got to be there.
We'll
get to it when we get there. He was in the flashback at the Tower of Joy.
That does not count.
He stabbed Arthur Dayne in the back.
In the back, but that's something that George does in the books is characters. Period. Like there's just more characters.
Well, somebody like Howland Reed, who we haven't seen in the books, he still has a lot of character development already between the stories that Mira and Jojen tell, between what Bran and Robb already know about him from Ned. Like this person who's never appeared has a super rich backstory that as soon as he shows up on the page, we know who he is and know what to expect from him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I know if you've read it, same as me, we both got a picture of what he looks like in the back of our mind, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, should be interesting.
That'd be awesome.
So let's shift over and talk about what the show does best. What do you think the show does best?
Shock moments.
Yeah.
That's kind of that, and just beautiful pictures, man. They great cinematographers. They have a huge budget. A lot of this stuff looks really cool and really faithful.
Yeah, I have set and costume design as one of my things. Just like they put especially in the early seasons, I mean, there have been articles about all the little details that you would never notice of like things woven into Sansa's dresses and just different costume choices, or the way like the Red Keep looks one day but then looks completely different the next day. Like just these little details that they put into set and costume design are really fantastic, and I encourage listeners to go try and find lists of like small details hidden in sets and costumes, and you'll just be amazed by how much thought and dedication is put into that stuff.
Oh, definitely. And it adds visually to their transition as characters over the course of the years. Like you mentioned Sansa, she used to wear those summer dresses, and now she's wearing hard-ass northern, not quite armor.
Well, everybody's in the all black everything now.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, everybody's just like, I don't know how anyone's going to tell each other apart on a battlefield because they're all just dressed in black.
Well, then I hope it's not darker than hell. This show has a problem with being really, really dark. But
well, the long night is coming, so there's a good chance it could be dark.
I hope not, because then I can't see anything, and I got to crank my brightness up to 100.
But you're also right about the shock moments of leading up something like the Red Wedding, which even book readers knew was coming. Like you still felt it still ripped your heart out.
Oh my God, they couldn't have done it any better.
Something like Tommen killing himself after the set blew up. I sat there with my mouth open. Yeah, you thought Tommen was going to come to an end somehow because like that's part of Cersei's prophecy and it's self-fulfilling in her case. But you didn't know once the Tyrells were all out of the picture. Okay, how's Tommen going to who's there to kill Tommen now? And him jumping out the window while the Sept's burning in the background, like that's an amazing scene that even in a very lackluster season is great.
Absolutely. And then the audio they have going with it, and just the way they cut and stuff like that. The show is so I read we both read the books, and while I'm going through the books, when you're reading something taking place over 50 pages, it loses some of its steam. It's just like, okay, he got stabbed. Damn, he's dead. Damn, he's dead. But when you're watching the show, and that takes goes over in 5 minutes or less. Like at the Red Wedding, whenever Catelyn pulls back Roose Bolton's sleeve and shows the chainmail. The chainmail. Oh my God, that was
she realizes epic. It, but nobody else in the room's realized it yet. You hear the Rains of Castamere, but nobody's ever actually heard the Rains of Castamere before. So like even as a book reader watching it, you don't know that that's what song that is playing. You're just like, oh shit, something ominous is coming.
Super ominous.
Yeah. And so that was the same thing when I, because I did it the other way. I saw the show. I knew the Red Wedding was coming in the book, and leading up to these big moments in the books, George likes to switch back and forth between point of view characters quickly.
Yeah.
There'll be really short chapters going back and forth. So like the Battle of Blackwater, it went back and forth between Tyrion and Sansa, like in quick succession, and there was one where it was like Dany and Jon going quick succession in A Dance with Dragons, I want to say, just at one of those big moments. And so with the Red Wedding, it was just going back between Cat and Arya, who Arya's approaching the twins and Cat's inside, and you just like that. It just kept going chapter after chapter, and it happens in the middle of the book. It doesn't happen at the end of the book like in season 3 it happens. It's the second to last episode of season 3, so you're pretty much done after that. This happens like 3/4 of the way through the book, I want to say, in Storm of Swords,
which is a fantastic book. And it takes place among a bunch of other crazy shit. Like that book was crazy, one of my favorites.
Well, and then the Purple Wedding's like literally 4 chapters later.
Yeah, it's just so much
Where
taking place. And
in the show world, you had to wait, a year and 3 episodes for that to happen. But in the book, it's just like right away. And so it's flashing back between Kat and Arya. And I know one of these Catelyn chapters is going to be the Red Wedding. And I'm like, well, no, they wouldn't do the Red Wedding like this early in the book. It's got to be later. Like there must be more, like they must shift away from this for a while and come back. But then it's just like 4 or 5 chapters right in a row going back between Kat and Arya. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hits you. And so, it's crazy just how good of a job both of them do at like setting up those moments.
Absolutely. But you nailed it on the head. The one thing I find that George does, other than it taking place over 50 pages, that takes away from it is the flipping back and forth. It gets me.
You don't like that?
No, I don't. Just because it has to be done that way, and I couldn't have done it any other way.
I like it, especially with something like Blackwater, where it goes between Tyrion, who's on, for lack of a better term, on the front lines of the battle, and Sansa, who's in the Maegor's Holdfast with
crazy Cersei.
Yeah. And just like trying to get all the women and children through this battle and like trying to be the booing spirit down there. Like, I think if you just had, I listened to it, so it's like in minutes for me, but if you had an hour of just Tyrion at the battle, that's really boring. But when you have an hour flipping back and forth, it kind of keeps you interested. And maybe that's a difference between listening to it on audiobook and actually reading it. Like reading it, you might want to get to the point faster, whereas audiobook, if too much of a battle goes on at one time, I kind of zone out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What got me is whenever I'd switch to a different point of view, I like to be in the mindset of that character.
Yeah, so you'd have to flip
You got to flip your whole train of mind. You got to remember, everything that's leading up to this point for said character, and also, I'm human. I gotta go to the bathroom. I read it at the gym sometimes. Like I'd put it down, or I'd have to go to work, and I can't just pause it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you put it down, but I don't know. I would think about it all day, and then it's like, okay, it just takes a little bit of away from it. Whereas
I could see that.
I'm focused as hell on the show. Nothing's interrupting me on these new episodes. I don't give a damn.
And that's something that the audiobooks, I can't recommend the audiobooks enough for anyone who's ever listened to an audiobook or, like even podcasts, like switching over to audiobooks sometimes is really good. If you listen to these, Roy Dotrice, who narrates the first 5, he won't be able to do the second 2 or the last 2 because he's dead now. But he does such a good job of changing voices, and that's what helps with, like you said, you have to change your mindset to get into the other person. Like when it's switch point of view, because you get a cue from the narrator that, okay, he's doing a different voice, so we're somebody different now. It's easy to make that switch in your head rather than you having to mentally do it.
That makes a whole lot of sense, because I had, I'm not very good with switching characters like that. If you ever listen to my show, I have a hard time there, so I have to differentiate. Oh, well, thank you.
It's probably best that you keep to like 3 characters in a room at a time right now, though. So you get better at that.
It'd be so hard. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get like a young chick on there. It's going to be terrible. Hi.
Listen to the audiobooks. Listen to Roy Dotrice do like Arya or Sansa, because he has a really kind of deep voice, so he does a good job of making you feel like you're listening to an 8-year-old girl. How weird does that sound?
We'll have to check that out. I'm always up for good audiobooks.
They're really good, and you can put them on 1.5 speed, which helps.
That has to help a ton.
The thing I was going to say that the show does best is it goes right along with your shock moments with spectacle. Battles, yes. The Hardhome battle, the loot train attack from season 7, the Watchers on the Wall episode, Battle of Blackwater, really anything with the dragons other than a close-up of a person riding them, like Dany in season 5 in the fighting pits and the Night King at the end of last season. Like those really close shots looked a little weird. But when they're doing wider stuff with the dragons, always look great. The giants look great. When the Unsullied, come in and take over, that looks great. The House of Undying look great. The red and purple weddings, both like for shock value and just as a spectacle, like they're really good at building up to something and then having this big thing happen and pulling off the big battles and the big explosions in a world where bombs don't exist. You got wildfire and dragons as your explosions. They're really good at setting those up and landing them.
Especially for a small screen show. I mean, they got a huge budget, but yeah, that's a great point.
Our friend on Twitter, Ebony Ma, asked me at least a couple of weeks ago what my favorite episodes were. He said like top 5, and which was really hard for me to do because I haven't rewatched in a while. But 4 out of the 5, I think, were penultimate episodes, which they do a really great job. Usually those are battle episodes. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that just points to that the reason I like them so much is because they're so well done, and also there's not a lot of people making decisions in them, which is one of the things the show doesn't do great.
But
we'll talk about that when we get there.
A lot of reacting.
Yeah, so when everything's battling and blowing up, and they just do a better job at pulling that off than characters thinking sometimes.
Yeah, and it also, they do a great job of it feeling organic. Like, I can't even imagine how many takes they have to take to get it to feel that way. But it doesn't, like, sometimes the show, when it's the slower moments, it's just like, okay, that just felt so wooden, so dumb.
Some of them can, but that was actually one of my other things that I think the show does best, and it's 2 or 3 people in a room just talking, having a conversation between 2 or 3 people. Usually Tyrion's involved or Cersei. Mm-hmm. But and even Sansa and Littlefinger had some great moments.
Yes, they did.
Jorah's had some great moments in conversation. It's just like one-on-one conversations, and they really hit their stride. Oberyn Martell was another one who, if you got him in a room with one other person, like, that was going to be a must-watch moment.
Absolutely.
Of just them talking.
There's a lot. Jack and Hagar and Arya.
Yeah. In like season 3 through 5, they really hit their stride of getting the right 2 people together. You had Brienne and Jaime together, Arya and the Hound together. Jaime and Bronn in season 5 was great. Tyrion and Bronn anytime was great. Like, they did a really good job of pairing people together who had great conversations.
Very, like, Tyrion and Varys is probably love those 2 when they interact. They're so fun.
Anytime Varys is standing in a room much larger than him, like, it's about to be a great conversation coming. He had one with Melisandre in season 7. He's had one with Littlefinger. He's had one with Tyrion. He's had one with Tywin. Tywin was another great one of, like, if you got him in a room and one other person walked in, that was going to be a great conversation.
Damn right.
So I really like how they do those small moments of people talking together. Now, like, I think it was season 6, there was a Tyrion Grey Worm Missandei pairing where they're all just like sitting in Daenerys's quarters while she's out with the Dothraki or whatever, and like Tyrion's trying to tell jokes. There's just no chemistry between any of them, and it's like, okay, you guys screwed this one up. Season 6 had a lot of bad pairings of people trying to play off each other. Brienne and Pod, I think, were bad together.
Initially, definitely.
Sansa and Ramsay were bad together.
Horrible. I'm rewatching that part right now. I honestly
I don't know that was the actor or the character's fault. Like, Ramsay's just bad to have anyone with, I guess.
Honestly, I really liked Ramsay the first time around. This, like, 4th time around,
he's hard to watch.
Guts. He's not a good actor, man.
So up to season 6, I would do a full rewatch before every season, and then after season 6 is like, I can't do that to myself again.
Too long.
When season 7 was starting, my wife and I watched season 6 over again, but I didn't do the first 5, and like, I didn't watch any of it. I watched the season 7 recap, and that's it now. But I would do a full rewatch, and like that first time, you're like, wow, Ramsay is really sadistic, and he's good. So that's another thing. When it's just him and Theon, or Rika, if you will, he's really great. But then once he has to play off Sansa or Roose, it's not as good anymore.
No, he's perfect in that framework of a kid with a magnifying glass and Theon's the ant. Like, he does that really well, but with everyone else, I feel like everyone else can just outact him.
Yes.
And kind of, they bully him in regards to the scene. Like, he just doesn't have any presence, and maybe they did that on purpose. I don't know. I wouldn't try to do that on purpose if I were them.
Yeah. I mean, he probably stayed around a little too long. And that's, we'll talk about it when we get there. So that brings us to what happened. What's the worst stuff? What do you think is the worst thing in the books?
Pacing.
Yep.
I could say that with pretty much one word. George R.R. Martin sometimes can drag on for an eternity. A Feast for Crows.
He loves explaining everything that's on the table at a dinner table.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes with the
gotta
territory
know how many
of
apples
having,
there are.
Yeah, gotta know. And what color? And are there any bruised? And what kind of dishes it's sitting in?
Well, but see, that's all an allusion to the Fossaways. If there's 3 red apples and 4 green apples, that means the green apple Fossaways have control of the Fossaway house right now. And I'm just making shit up. I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, that's what super fans would like dig into that shit. So that's sometimes it's good, but also like, land the plane, George.
Exactly. It lends itself to the world building and adding more depth to it and really painting a visual picture in your mind. But sometimes I don't
just
give
land
a fuck.
The fucking plane.
Right?
Yeah.
And whenever he does chapters, like I feel like A Feast for Crows was hardly necessary. There was like maybe 5 or 6 super boring.
Ironborn.
Oh my god. It was the most boring, dry book I've ever read in my life. And there was maybe 6 chapters. So like 100 pages, if that I felt like needed to be said. But there just wasn't as much differentiation between this point of view and that point of view from A Storm of Swords.
I've done the audiobooks twice now. I've listened to them all the way through. And there are just times where I'll just zone out for like 20 minutes and just be completely out of the story. And then all of a sudden the chapter's over. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And usually they're Ironborn chapters. And like the first time I was reading it, the show, or listening to it, sorry for anyone who's going to tell me I'm not a real fan because I didn't actually read. I listened. Whatever.
Hey, Calvin.
Fuck you.
You're not a real fan.
Oh, now fuck
you. I'm just kidding, brother.
But like, so the first time through, like those Ironborn chapters were so hard because the show up to season 5 had not focused on the Ironborn at all.
Yeah, not at all.
So they were like, it was just Theon and Yara/Asha had made a couple appearances, and that's it. Like they didn't care that Balin was dead. Euron hadn't made an appearance. None of Balin's other brothers had made an appearance at the time. So like in my mind, I was like, okay, if the show hasn't put them in by season 5, they're almost caught up to the end of the books. They're not going to be important. So I just kind of closed it off. Mm-hmm. And then the next time I listened to it, I paid a little more attention to the Ironborn because I do kind of like some of those stories. I do like the Euron chapters or the Aaron Dampere chapters when he's with Euron. Just because Euron is a fucking crazy person in the book.
Super crazy.
Not Hot Topic Euron.
Fuck him, man. That actor is okay.
They made some weird decisions with Euron.
Yeah, they did. I don't like his like Joker-esque smiley laughy. It's like this dude is sadistic as fuck. Like, he's crazy.
Yeah, they didn't really, and maybe they'll build. Like I just feel like they're out of time to build character. Like he's just gonna come back with the Golden Company and either die or, he'll probably just die. Like I don't. There's not much else for him to go. So I was just like not focused on the Ironborn, and the Ironborn are actually pretty fascinating. Mm-hmm. But like you said, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not necessary. There's like 3 chapters on the King's Moot when it needs to be 1.
Yeah, exactly, and it just drags sometimes, man.
Yeah, well, and that was because I don't know if you know this, but the Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons was supposed to just be 1 book. But it got too big to actually be bound as 1 book. So he had to split it. And I think in that split, he had to kind of put some filler in there. Mm-hmm. So that's why A Feast for Crows is by far the worst book. Because I think he put more filler into there. And more story into Dance with Dragons. But yeah, when you look at it through that framework, it does make a lot of sense. And then I've recommended it before, but I recommend you do the Feast with Dragons reading order where it mixes the 2 books together. It's a much longer read because you're obviously reading 2 books at once, but it does seem to move faster, and you get to spend time with Arya and Jon and Daenerys. Like you get all of the characters instead of getting half the characters and then the other half of the characters in the next book.
I might have to do that, man, because Arya from the books is by far my favorite character.
She's good.
My daughter's name is going to be Arya.
Shout out Arya.
Can't love you, honey. But that's how much that character had an impact on me from the books. Like, she's great in the show, don't get me wrong, but whole different ballgame in the books.
Right. She's probably my second favorite in the books. I think I still got to go with Jaime. Even though Jaime is not a good person. Well, he's becoming one, as we talked about at length. But it just... Jaime, at this point, it has more of an arc. I think Arya's still going up on her arc. She still has more to do.
Absolutely.
Jaime's hit his turn already. Arya hasn't gotten there yet. So I'm very interested in what happens with Arya, and
Same. Yeah.
Can't wait to see how the house, the House of Black and White pays off for her. Hopefully it's better than in the show. But since we're there, let's talk. What does the show do worst? There's a lot.
There's a ton. Let's see here. Basically omitting complete characterizations, I guess is a way to say it. Like mangling characters. Jaime Lannister.
Okay, yeah.
Like mangling characters.
Dorne Martell.
He was so lame. Like there was just nothing for him to do but sit in his fucking wheelchair. And the sand
even
snakes
Arya Hota, his assistant, like he gets his own chapter in the book, and he just stood there the whole fucking season 4 and 5.
And that dude's badass. Like why didn't he get to split someone in half with that wicked axe? But I understand they have to do that for time and stuff, but I really, really hate when they cut out a ton of shit. Like, how does Gendry get to the wall in 5 minutes?
Nah.
Season
7 timing is like it's an issue all on its own.
Absolutely.
Like that's just... That is what it is, and it's not going to change, I don't think.
No, and I got to let that go because, yeah, I don't want a whole bunch of filler, but I want that extra stuff with those characters who I find so good. And when you mangle some, like the big ones, like Jaime, holy shit, dude, you couldn't have fucked that up more.
Yeah, it's okay that Eris Oakheart doesn't exist in the show. I'm sure he exists in like season 1 as a forgettable Kingsguard off to the side, but like the fact that he doesn't exist in the show robs Arya Hota of his chance to use that badass axe he has, that he's just waiting. Like his whole story in the books is he's just waiting for a fight with Eris Oakheart, the Kingsguard who's guarding Myrcella.
Yeah.
And then he gets the fight, but we don't get to see any of that because Dorne doesn't fucking matter. Let's leave that out of this.
Apparently not. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that was just gonna be my point. Is one of my biggest things, and we talked about this a little bit when we did our Kingslayer X episode, is applying in-world logic to the character's decision making. Littlefinger giving Sansa to Ramsay would never make that decision in a million years. Like his character wouldn't do that. It didn't help him in any way. Like it did because Sansa eventually killed Ramsay. But that was more
got killed too.
Yeah, that was more likely that Sansa would have died than Jon comes and saves her.
Absolutely, that's
like
great.
Littlefinger has no idea that Jon's going to come save her. He sends her there basically to die for no reason. The Faceless Men are just there as a stepping stone for Arya. Like they have much bigger plans in the books. It seems like they are going after dragon eggs and trying to learn about dragons. They may have a dragon egg from Euron. Like there's a lot more to the Faceless Men that I just don't think we're going to get in the show. I hope we don't get it, because if they go back to the Faceless Men at this point, it's just like I don't even know what the point of it would be.
Okay, this would be a good example of like what they do bad. If Arya disappears for like 3 days and then shows up with an army of Faceless Men.
Yeah, that'd just be weird because
that would never happen. There
were only 2 there when she was there.
Yeah, but that would
they're both dead.
That would make more sense for Arya, I guess, if you look at it from the show perspective, because they've put so much of her identity into the Faceless Men and then kind of forgot about them. So I feel like they want to bring it in an epic way.
In the show, the Faceless Men were just there for Arya to become a great fighter. But in the books, they are given so much more to do, and their reason for existing with the Doom of Valyria and all of that, like that, it makes so much more sense. The way they're presented in the show, they even tell the story of the Doom of Valyria and how they may or may not have caused it, but that doesn't pay off in any way. Like they don't have seemingly any bigger plan than to make Arya an assassin and let her go about her business.
That's how I feel about it.
Another example, Littlefinger giving Bran the dagger in season 7. Like Littlefinger would never hand a weapon that he almost killed somebody with to the person he almost killed.
Absolutely not. Especially someone who's exhibiting signs of seeing into the past, present, and future. You'd think, I know Littlefinger had some sort of suspicion because Bran, everybody had that suspicion.
Well, and you could say, Littlefinger's just testing him. He's playing the long game. Like, no, Littlefinger's decision making in season 7 was so bad and so out of character that it doesn't even make sense. Like, he deserved to get killed for all of the terrible decisions he made, but he wasn't it didn't seem like he was thinking about any of the decisions he was making.
No, it almost, the character they've preached for 6 seasons
Which his character
prior
is
to this.
thought. That's
Exactly. And then he gets caught off guard by Sansa, and he starts pleading for his life and crying like a bitch. That ain't Littlefinger.
And like I'm glad he's dead, because he just needs to be dead, because what they did with him in season 7 was bad enough. Let's not get any more of that going.
Yeah, definitely not.
Like, he fulfilled his purpose. His purpose was for himself to get caught up in his own web of lies, which they did. They just did it in a bad way, because the web of lies that he was catching himself in didn't make any sense. Mm-mm. Like, it was supposed to be a moment for Sansa to outmaneuver him, but he just, like, there was no maneuvering needed to be done. Like, he didn't do anything.
No, it was training wheels maneuvering.
Yeah. And then my last one of the in-world logic is which dragons the dragon riders are riding really bothers me, because it looks like, so Daenerys is Drogon. That's good. That's the one she's supposed to have. That makes sense. It looks like Jon is going to end up riding Rhaegal, because he's the only one left at this point. Viserion has been turned.
Correct.
In the book world, if Jon rides a dragon, it's going to be Viserion. Because Viserion is the white dragon, because Jon is the white wolf, and everything about Jon is covered in white or black.
Correct.
Not green. And the show's logic is, well, his dad's name is Rhaegar, so we're going to give him Rhaegal. But that's not a well thought out thing. Like, that's stupid.
Well, it's not Jon Snow identity.
Right. Jon Snow identity is white. It's pure.
Yeah. It's the white wolf.
It's the white wolf. It's snow. It's beyond the wall. It's north. It's north. Everything about him is white, except the black cloak that he wears.
And his hair.
Yeah. And then Rhaegal in the books, and this is something that I got from the Kiora user I was talking about earlier, Kelsey Hayes. Daenerys has this thing about being betrayed by things cloaked in green, basically. Like, green has been her enemy. You'll have to look into it. There's theories out there on it. Basically, anything she comes into contact with that is referred to as green somehow either betrays her or is her enemy. So, these theories posit that Rhaegal will be the one to betray Dany. Like, somebody else is going, and that could still happen in the show technically, if Jon and Dany end up betraying each other in some way, and Jon is now riding Rhaegal, the green dragon. But again, Jon, white, Viserion, white. That should be there. But Rhaegal is the green one, and he's the one that's supposed to be in this second Dance of Dragons that is more than likely coming in the books. Rhaegal is supposed to be pitted against Dany because he's the green one. And that may be Aegon, it may be somebody else. We don't know.
We don't know.
Tyrion's out there, who knows? Anybody can ride a dragon.
Wouldn't it be some shit, though, if, how in the show they showed, her clothes got burned off by fire. Mm-hmm. But what if the wildfire, since it's green, actually burns her? There's a thought.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Like, she just walks into it thinking, oh, this isn't going to hurt.
Oh, yeah, I'll be fine. Or she flies Drogon into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that happening. Because she's a little full of herself.
A little bit.
With her titles and whatnot. And then my other point was, and I made this when we did the Kingslayer episode, once they were out of the books, they just lost sight of who the characters were supposed to be and why they do what they do and make decisions. This goes along with what I already said. Dorne's a good example of this. The House of Black and White, again, like, characters started making, after season 5 and in season 5 a little bit, characters started making decisions either to advance the plot or to run circles around the plot, hoping George caught up or they would figure something out. Characters didn't make decisions based on who their characters were anymore. They just made decisions to get to the next thing.
Yes.
And Dorne's a big example of that, of like, well, we'll just let Dorne do this so somebody can kill him.
Exactly. We're going to get from point A to B with no detours, whereas the book is, A, point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then B, point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, it's just, it's a crime they cut out Dorne so much and Ashai and all that stuff. And
I still think they could have made Dorne good with the framework that they built. They just didn't care to.
No, they did. They had too many characters.
Jaime and Bronn going in there and saving Marcel, like, they could have done so much. Dorne could have been a step ahead of them the whole way. The Sand Snakes could have been waiting with traps and shit like that. Like, they could have done so much with that, and they just didn't feel like it.
I actually just rewatched that episode yesterday.
With the worst stage fighting ever.
I was so pissed watching it because Bronn looks good, but oof, man, the rest of them just and what's her face? The one Obera, she just looks like she smelled a really bad fart. The whole 6 episodes she's in there, she just.
Hey, look, man, Emilia Clarke's been doing that for 7 seasons. That's the only face she's
a lot better looking.
I guess
she can get away with it.
All right, let's talk character adaptations. Let's get out of this. I'm sick of talking about what the show does wrong. Even though we'll talk about it more. Who are the 3 best characters? We'll just keep it limited to 3 because otherwise we'll go all day. Who do you think the best 3 character adaptations from book to show are?
Okay. I'm going to say this, and this is purely from my point of view.
Yeah. It's subjective, but what I meant by best is who reflects their book self. Yeah. Who reflects their book self most?
For me, it's Brienne. I thought she doesn't have enough to do in the show, but when she does, I think it's great.
She's the true knight. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll agree with that.
Ned Stark.
That was an easy one.
That was so easy. And I went to
Plus
a Comic-Con.
It only had to be for 9 episodes, so.
Exactly, but he's still Ned Stark. I mean, I met Sean Bean at Comic-Con.
Oh, cool.
And I got him to say, "Winter is coming," and I was just like, "Whoo!" Bro, it was dope as fuck. And then my third is Tywin Lannister, actually.
Yes. Oh man, I can't believe I have 3 completely different people, but I wish I would have put Tywin.
Oh man, he does such a great job.
Charles Dance did fantastic.
So good. When you really get introduced to him when he's skinning the stag.
The deer,
yeah, dude, that was so awesome. It's just like, okay,
that's another example of like the set and costume design things. Like him skinning that stag, that never happened in the book, but like him skinning that stag, showing what they're doing to the Baratheons, like that's amazing that they put that much detail into making the show, and yet they don't put that much detail into writing the show.
No, and he was actually doing that in real life. Like he was actually
that was
doing
a real deer.
Yeah, he was actually, and that's when Jaime's face is all like, he legitimately was like, "Oh my god, you just gutted a deer in front of me! Holy shit!"
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that. Like, can somebody else do this scene? Like, can we have Bronn have this conversation with him, please?
Where's my stunt double? Damn it!
So my 3 best characters were Jon.
Yes,
and I would say this up to his death because, well, he doesn't exist in the books after his death yet. So we don't know what he'll be like. But through the first 5 seasons, Jon was almost shot for shot what he was in the books. Maybe he's a little taller, but I'll let that slide.
We can because Kit Harington has such a good adaptation of Jon Snow.
That's like complaining that Hugh Jackman's too tall to be Wolverine. No, Hugh Jackman's perfect.
Yeah, I love him. That's my dude.
My next one was Stannis.
Very good. Very good.
Stephen Dillon, he got this character perfect.
Yes, he did. I loved his moments with
the stoicism
Shireen.
and his relationship with Shireen right up until he decided to burn her alive. Strange decision, but whatever. Just his belief that he is the Azor Ahai reborn. He does such a perfect job of embodying what Stannis is in the books. How he's dead to the rules. Like he doesn't want to be king, but rightfully he's king, so he's going to be king. So he's going to do everything in his power to be king. And then
it's the honorable thing to do.
Yeah, Cersei is my last one. Cersei doesn't do. She's not like Jon and Stannis are shot for shot, and Tywin even like perfect matches for the books. Cersei does a lot of things differently in the show than she does in the books, but Lena Headey gets the attitude of Cersei right,
and the writers expressions, the attitude. You're
not
so
quite
right
as drunk as book Cersei, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't think I would really want to watch. It'd take away a lot of her sinister
the bite. Yeah,
like
take the bite out of a lot of things.
And Lena Headey does that's one of the few characters I like more in the show than the books.
Yes, I would agree with that. She's not one of the ones I picked when we get to that, but I would agree that she's probably better in the show than in the books. And I think in the book it's one of those things where because she's a POV character, we get too much of her. Like we know what she's thinking, so we can see all of her bumbling. Like in the show, she's not quite as bumbling as she is in the books. Like you can see the whole time she's setting up Marjorie in the books that this is going to backfire on her. But in the show, you're like, oh shit, she's going to get Marjorie. And then she got herself. Like, it kind of comes out of nowhere because you're not in her head thinking she's so stupid. Why would she do these things? Like, she's literally sleeping with one of Marjorie's best friends and telling that person everything she thinks about Marjorie and how she's planning her downfall.
I just don't think she really saw it, you know. I think she had, she's full of herself at that point.
Oh, absolutely. And she thinks Taina Merryweather is her, like, she's her confidant, when really she's just soaking up all this stuff and taking it back to Marjorie, which, like, that's one of the things I love about how George wrote Cersei is, like, she is super into herself and thinks she's the smartest person in the world, but you can see really how dumb she is.
At times. She can be very, very smart, but she's super conceited. She thinks she's the sexiest, the baddest, you know, she thinks she's the best. Yeah.
And he does such a good job of portraying. It's the same thing with Daenerys. I was talking about this consistent inconsistency. She thinks because she made one good decision that was really smart, now she thinks every decision she's making is smart. So it doesn't matter what she does, she's right.
I hate that shit.
Well, yeah, but it's great in Cersei in these books.
Yes,
not a good character in a real person, but
no, and I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. The consistently inconsistent thing with Daenerys is so frustrating.
Well, yeah, so that brings us to who are the 3 worst character adaptations, and that's, you know, who doesn't reflect the books well.
I'm gonna get roasted for these, brother.
Let's do it.
All right. My first one is, I'm not going to say more than 2 words about it, is Jaime.
Yeah,
obviously.
He's my first one. I mean, we did literally a whole episode. Go back and listen to episode 46, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did 2-parter on it. So go back and listen to that if you want to see why we think Jaime was butchered. I don't think we need to go into it here.
My second one is Theon Greyjoy.
Really?
Oh, man, I thought he's terrible. Mostly,
you think the actor's terrible or
I think
portrayal?
I think Alfie Allen's fantastic. I think once they had Theon transition to Reek, I lose all of it. I think
he was great as Reek.
I thought he was terrible.
I thought he nailed it. I thought he's one. I would put him in the first category up until he escapes Winterfell. I would put him there. Which again, that's where the books ran out, so you can't compare him anymore.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like he's too fearful. Whereas in his mind, well, yeah, outwardly
he's been tortured,
but in his mind, he's not. I mean, he's broken, but he's not all the way broken. Like, he has all those moments where he's. I also don't like his physical appearance in the show.
I mean, but do you want it to be closer to the books where he has teeth knocked out and his hair is gray and he's emaciated?
Yes, I do.
Has fingers cut off and toes cut off?
Yes, I do, because that makes more sense to me of why he is so broken.
Yeah, that makes I would buy that. So I have a question. This is a book thing. The Ghost of Winterfell. Do you remember those chapters?
Oh,
this is where the Boltons have taken over Winterfell. People in the Boltons camp are dying left and right. There's 5 deaths.
Yes.
And then they do a whole chapter titled "The Ghost of Winterfell," and it's a Theon chapter. Who do you think the Ghost of Winterfell is? Who do you think's committing these murders?
I'd love to say Theon.
Who I think it is, but I've heard a lot of other theories. So the Spearwives admit to it. The ladies that Mance Rayder brings with him, they admit to the killings. They say, we've been killing these people, blah, blah, blah. I think they're lying to him.
I think so too.
I think it was, first of all, in every other chapter that's not named after a character, a lot of the Ironborn chapters aren't named the characters' names. They're named like the Reaver and the Damp Air, like things like that.
The Drown God.
Yeah, things like that refer to the person, but not by name. So this one is a Theon chapter. It's a Theon point of view, but it's called The Ghost of Winterfell. So he is the ghost in Winterfell, and he meets like this hooded figure who he thinks is a ghost, and he like has a conversation with it. And I think it's just like it's Reek seeing a reflection of Theon. Not an actual reflection, but like what do you call that when you see something that's not there? Apparition, a hallucination.
Oh, that makes more sense.
He's hallucinating that there's this man in a hood talking to him, and it's actually himself talking to him. And I think he's committing these murders, and I think the Spearwives either helped him or saw him commit these murders and are wondering why he's asking them who committed the murders, because they either saw him or helped him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just like, say they did it to kind of like, they realize he's having a mental break, and they say they did it to kind of save himself from himself. Like, obviously he doesn't realize. I think he like slips into this character of the Ghost of Winterfell at night. He knows his way around better than anybody else because he lived there for 10 years.
Yeah, he's Lord.
I just think it's him. He can find these people in their most vulnerable and commit the murders that he did. I don't agree with any of the other thoughts that it was the Spearwives, because nothing's ever that straightforward. If somebody says they killed somebody, they didn't kill that person.
Most of the time, no. And I think what also adds more credence to that, like I mentioned prior, I feel like Theon still exists, and that's something Theon would do. He's not really
he's saving his home in that case.
Exactly. He identifies as a Stark for the most part. And I think
and that goes with something that the show did last season. Again, two people in a room talking, Jon and Theon. Jon tells him you can be both a Stark and a Greyjoy. Like, you don't have to choose. You can be both things because you are both things. And like, I agree. That's something, if he slips out of the Reek mindset and slips into Theon mindset, he would do that. He would protect his home.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's...
So, yeah, I think he's having mental breaks, and he's blacking out basically and becoming himself and killing people.
Well, Reek has become his outward, his mask, whereas Theon's still under the mask. And sometimes you got to wear the mask. We all have to wear it at times to get through our days. He just has to wear it all the time.
Yeah,
it's a brutal mask. I'm Batman.
So who's your third? We disagree on that one, but that's okay.
Fair enough.
That's why we have a podcast, so we can disagree about things. Be really boring if we disagreed on everything.
True that. So this is the one I'll probably get butchered for, but Daenerys Targaryen, bro.
No, you're not going to get butchered by me. She's number 2 on my list.
Sweet.
Her character's not great in the books either, I will say. Like, she's one of my least favorite in the books.
She just doesn't really, I don't think... She's so single. She has a single mindset a lot of times. That singular mission. I just think they didn't really adapt her physically that well. Like, she doesn't have the silver hair and the purple eyes.
Emilia Clarke's just bad too.
She's not a great actress.
They said they tried with the purple eyes, but the contacts really bothered her. Mm-hmm. And a few other people, like in Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe couldn't wear the green contacts for the same reason. Like, for whatever reason, I'm sure there are people who don't normally wear contacts, so once they have contacts in, it probably bothers them and irritates them.
Yeah.
So it happened here. It happened in Harry Potter. Like, I think that happens a lot, but like the purple eyes are really big. I mean, I can get past it because I'm not staring deep into people's eyes on TV.
Yeah, but
it would be a cool thing to see.
That's part of her heritage. She's a Targaryen, and that's something that George R.R. Martin does so well in the books, is really put across how important these people were and how much of an effect they have. And
and even like a character like young Griff, who when Tyrion meets him, he thinks he just has like dark blue or black eyes, and then as he looks closer, he can see that they're actually like deep purple, and he says, "Oh, okay, you may be somebody you think you are, but you may also not be that person."
Right, and I think of like Master, was it Aemon?
Mr. Aemon, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of the physical appearances of the Targaryens that I think didn't translate well to the show. She's also a terrible actress.
Yeah, she's bad. I think Harry Lloyd, who was Viserys, did a really good job.
He did.
I think that was a really good adaptation as well. It was such a small character because he died in like episode 8, but like that, he did a really good job of just like that manic energy that you expect from Viserys.
From a Targaryen.
Well, yes.
That's kind of what...
Don't wake the dragon.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie. Go back and listen to our episode on Jamie. I agree with Danny. But like I said, she's not great in the books. It's the consistent inconsistency in the books that bothers me. Is, she thinks she's doing one thing when really she's doing another, and she doesn't see how this one action affects all the other decisions she's already made. And then, so they carried that over into the show a little bit, but you also have a bad actress, and they just didn't know what to do in Marine, which neither does George. That's why she's still stuck there in the books. But like once you throw that Marine plot at a bad actress, like there was no way she was ever going to save anything.
No, I mean she would have to carry that, and she just can't. She didn't have that talent.
I think we talked about this when we did the Jamie episode, is she doesn't have that gravitas, that like she doesn't feel like a leader. When she gives a big speech, I want to laugh at her.
Right.
Because she's got this weird look on her face. She's got kind of this mousy voice. It's just like, at least in the books, in her consistent inconsistency, when she gives one of these big speeches for people to follow her, like gives people a reason to actually believe in her, you feel like you should for that moment. And then the next moment she'll make a decision that completely counteracts what she just said.
Right.
But in that moment where she's making that speech or doing that thing, like you want to believe that, okay, she is the one who's going to save the world.
Well, her voice stays completely flat the whole time she does these speech. And when I was reading,
it gets louder, but it's flat.
There's no emotion to it.
Yeah, the tempo's flat.
Yeah, and when I read the books, I imagined Daenerys as having sort of a personality type, kind of like Linda Hamilton from Sarah Connor from Terminator. Like Linda Hamilton in that movie is what, like 90 pounds, if that. But she chews up those scenes, and she just has that. She's got a fucking sack on her, man. She is hardcore, and that's what I wanted to see from Daenerys, and that's what I didn't get.
Right. Yeah, and they can't figure out if she's supposed to be like this. What's the word I'm looking for? Like sexy, but in a way like a temptress. They can't figure out if she's supposed to be a temptress, or they don't realize why people are attracted to her. In the books, like Jorah and Dario and whoever else meets her is attracted to her, not because like she just oozes sex, but it's because she oozes leadership at moments.
She's powerful woman.
They're drawn to her power more than her appearance. And Drogo and Viserys even, like they're all drawn to her aura more than what she actually looks like or who she is.
There's something about a powerful woman, brother. I mean,
with dragons.
Oh fuck yeah! And I mean, that's what made me. That's realistic in my opinion. That's what made me fall in love with my wife. She has that. I don't know. If you smack me in the ass and I don't know you, like blah blah blah, I'm gonna smack you in the fucking face and call you a little bitch. Like it's you don't think less of her at all because she's. I don't know. This is going to sound super sexist, but I feel like a lot of men look at women this way as lesser than them.
Yeah.
Like they can't stand up for themselves and they can't put me in my place because I'm a man, which is so not true. Like that is, women are dope.
Shout out women.
We love you. Hey, ladies.
All right. So this is kind of a cool question. Which characters, we're going to go 3 again, were greatly improved upon by their show adaptations? Didn't get enough shine in the books, maybe, or just like the show had a different idea about them.
Okay, my first one is kind of lame, but I'm going to say Jon Snow. Okay. Mostly because Kit Harington does a great job of bringing him to life. And I think his character really benefited from being like a stalwart of the show. Without, they had to put their focus somewhere if they didn't have these extra 50 characters. A lot of that goes to Jon Snow. Right. And I think he benefited greatly from that. That's my first.
I'll agree with that. Kit Harington's great.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. He does Jon Snow so much justice.
Yeah, and I think it helped him that he wasn't in the first 2, maybe even 3 seasons, he wasn't the main character. I guess like in season 3, he became the main character at the wall, but like in season 1, season 1 and 2, he didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. But then season 3, when he's off with Ygritte and the Wildlings, like that's when he really started to come into his own. So I think it helped him to grow into that slowly. Whereas like somebody like Dany and Emilia Clarke had to be thrown right into it. Like she had to be the best version of herself right away.
That's a great point. That's tough.
Or Peter Dinklage, who did a good job of it, which he's another one who is a great book, show to book adaptation. Like he did a perfect job.
Yeah, I was going to put him instead of Tywin, but I was just blown away by Tywin. So yeah, had to do him.
I mean, there are the show does a lot of good things good.
Yes,
and did. And like the characters are some of the best things that they do. And I think that's more about the actors, that like they chose the right actors to portray these characters, and the actors often get who the characters are supposed to be, even if the showrunners don't and don't write something correctly. The actors still know what, like the actors still get it.
Yeah,
and will revert back to who they should be.
Said.
I don't know if beautiful is the right word, because I like stuttered a lot, but I think I got the point across.
You got the point across to my heart, bro.
All right, cool. All right, who you got next?
All right, second is the Hound.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's
dude.
a good one.
The Hound is he. I don't know his last name, but Rory.
McLean, I want to say.
Yeah, Rory McLean. He does
maybe
such a
McCain.
good. It might be McCain.
Yeah,
Mick
something.
Mick Jagger, but
not
he's
Mick Jagger.
Thank God. But he.
What if Mick Jagger showed up in season 8? Would you just stop watching? I probably would.
I honestly might turn off the show and just write an angry tweet to HBO like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
That would somehow be worse than Ed Sheeran. Like Ed Sheeran was fine. Like that was fine that he was in that one little scene. I didn't mind that much. A lot of people got really mad about Ed Sheeran having like 3 minutes of screen time because he's what's her name's like one of her favorite artists.
Oh, Aria or Maisie Williams.
Maisie Williams. Like she loves Ed Sheeran, so it's like, okay, yeah, give him a scene. It's 3 minutes. He didn't kill anything.
Well, I mean, dude's got a good voice, and that was kind of the point, was for them to sing.
Plus, I like the song they were singing. That was the what was the guy's name? I can't remember the singer that Tyrion had made up into a bowl
Bale
of ground.
the Bard?
No, it wasn't Bale the Bard. That's
Whale.
That's from the north.
Whale.
Yeah.
Tom Seven Strings?
No, he's the one with the Brotherhood Without Banners. Some silver, I want to say.
Something Silver Tongue?
Silver Tongue. Yeah, that's what I want to say. But yeah, he made the Hands of Gold Are Always Cold song, but a woman's hands are warm. So that's what Ed Sheeran was singing. I like that little shout out to the books.
They did. I mean, he did a good job. That was fun to have him.
Yeah, I didn't mind that.
Anyway,
the Hound.
Yes, the Hound. He's imposing. He's a badass. I think a lot of his subtle things that he had in the books didn't really come across all that well. But like when he saves Sansa from those dudes that were about to rape her and shit like that, and I don't know, the way they played that off was just so well done. Well, his
time with Arya is great. Like
yes,
that time in the book is really fast forwarded through. Like I want to say they do like maybe 2 chapters together.
Yeah, they don't
but
have.
They did a whole season together in season 3, and like you really got a feel for who the Hound was. Like he was a fighter because he was good at fighting, not because he wanted to fight.
Exactly.
And like everything in his life has just led up to the time he can fight and beat his brother finally for shoving his face in a fire.
Well, I mean, it's this terrible circle that he's stuck in where he has to keep fighting to live, but he doesn't necessarily want to fight. Like when he's dying and Arya, that whole scene between the two, that shit is heartbreaking whenever he begs her to kill him. To see this guy who, is so comfortable with death beg for it. That was just trippy.
That'll be an interesting reunion when the Hound actually makes it to Winterfell. That'll be kind of cool to see. Because Arya left him for dead, basically. She thinks she crossed him off her list. Like, is she going to attack him, or is she going to be like, all right, cool, you did what you were supposed to?
I think he'll look at her and be like, something along the lines of, you little shit. And Arya
he already knows she's alive because him and Brienne talked about it when they were...
when they met up?
Yeah, when they met up down in King's Landing.
Yeah, I think...
When they brought the White down there.
I honestly don't think anything will come from that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, probably not. I would like to see it, though.
Yes, but another character I want to see a whole lot more of this next season, who they've done a great job with, is Bronn.
Okay.
I was
Bronn. Hoping to get there because he's not on my list, and I was like, as we were talking, I just thought of him, and I'm like, I really hope one of us picked him. Otherwise, we're going to have to add a 4th entry to this because Bronn definitely...
Bronn all day. I feel like he had
the expansion
nothing to do
they
in
did,
the books.
yeah.
And then he's just such a great character.
I mean, he killed the Lord of House Stokeworth.
That ain't shit.
In single combat.
Well, when he's the one training Jaime in the books instead of Ilyn Payne. Like, that's... Yeah. In the show.
In the show, yeah, that's a good substitute. Well, the actor who played Ilyn Payne also died, so like he
really?
didn't exist
I didn't know
anymore.
that.
Yeah, He died like shortly after season 1, I want to say.
Damn.
So like they kind of had to find somebody else to train Jaime or they replaced the actor for the Mountain 3 times. They could have just replaced him, but I liked them putting Bronn with Jaime. That was a really good pairing.
I love Bronn. He's got that swag. He reminds me of like Nightcrawler. He's got that swaggery swashbuckler. Fuck with me. I'll kill all you fucks.
Kind of like a early Jack Sparrow type guy.
Yes, dude, that's perfect. When he's in the bar, first meeting the Hound at before the Battle of the Blackwater. Oh, you think you're a hard man? I do. It's just I love that kind of quiet confidence. That's badass.
And he's a good fighter.
He's a damn good fighter. And I think he's going to kill a lot of White Walkers.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see because it looks like Clegane Bowl is going to happen. So I'll be interested to see how that goes down.
It better happen. It's got to happen.
I couldn't really care less about it, but
I think the only reason I care about it, it's like a dump that you've had in you too long. It's like, I got to get it out so I can focus on
I think it'll happen
else.
in the books too, but I don't think it will be as hyped. Like I think they'll just like run into each other on the road, or like he's supposedly the Gravedigger on the Quiet Isle right now. Like I think the Mountain will probably try and invade the Quiet Isle or something like that, and he'll have to defend his new life. It won't be like, all right, we're all fighting.
That's a thought.
So my 3 that were greatly improved. Number 1 is Davos.
Yes,
Seaworth.
Dude, that's been a great one.
Besides him forgetting that his family exists. Great character in the show.
Where's all his sons? Like
he's got like 4 more sons. He's got a wife. They don't exist anymore. Yeah, but he's super funny in the show. He was great pairing with Stannis because like he gave all of those scenes with Stannis some levity, which was greatly needed. He had a great rapport with Shireen, and now he's just brought that over with Jon. Yeah. And it's same thing in the books. He doesn't have a whole lot to do. Like he's off searching for Rickon right now, and he got stuck in White Harbor with the Manderleys for a while. Like he's just kind of running circles around until he gets to find Rickon or not find Rickon. So I think by giving him more screen time, they really did that character a service.
Absolutely, and they really do a good job of getting across that he's one of the few people with a pretty genuine good heart. I don't think Davos really wishes anybody ill will except for the Red Priestess.
Yeah,
and that's in a world where everybody,
I give you that.
Excuse me, pretty much wants to kill everybody. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. My next is the sex god himself, Podrick Payne.
I want to know what he did. I gotta know.
I don't know, man. He turned it out though. He's just like pairing him with Tyrion, and he's just kind of like this meek, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, like little squire, and like being paired with a literal dwarf, and like he's the one who's out of his depth dealing with Tyrion. That was always like those scenes were good, and then him with Brienne in the show have been really good. Like that was a pretty good pairing in the show once they got rolling with it.
Absolutely.
Again, that's another thing where Brienne doesn't have like really a sense of humor or anything, so Pod gave those scenes some levity.
Definitely much needed levity.
Yeah,
much needed. And I feel like they didn't really. He's kind of like Bronn in the books. Like I don't feel like they really developed Pod as much. But
no, he's probably already dead.
Probably.
Like,
but I felt like
Stoneheart's hanged him already.
Bitch. But what I was gonna say is, I feel like, man, damn it, I lost my train of thought. He's one of those characters that I felt like could have gone either way. In the books, like he could have been. He comes from a house of pretty big time killers.
Mm-hmm.
Usually not very good people. So he had the opportunity to not be a good person, but he's been stuck with people to where he's been pushed in that good person direction.
Yeah, and while reading the books leading up to his most likely demise at the hands of Lady Stoneheart, I always kind of thought, like, in the same way that Shay was, like, maybe he's actually working for Tywin. Like, he's just keeping tabs on Tyrion. Like, in the book world, in the show, like, he's clearly Tyrion's buddy and he's Brienne's buddy. But, like, I always kind of thought that, like, there was something more to him. Like, he's not who we don't see all of him yet.
That, I mean, it kind of plays in with his family name. That's a pretty good point.
And then my third one was Brienne.
Hey.
They gave her so much more to do. Gwendolyn Christie does a great job of portraying. Like, that's a hard character to get right, too.
Definitely.
And she did such a good job. You really see, like, that she's this tremendous fighter. She's a true knight, more so than pretty much anybody else in the show. And, like, I don't know, like, she's just, I want more scenes with her. I want to see her fighting Arya in the practice field. I want to see her get back to Jaime and, like, them have a actual real reunion other than this BS that we got last season. Like, I just want to see more of Brienne because she really is a great character in the show.
Fantastic. Brienne the Beauty. The only thing I wish they would do different, though, is have her stop swearing loyalty every 5 minutes and remind, I served your mother and I served Catelyn Stark. It's like, okay, we get it. Yeah. We get it. There's so much more to Brienne.
In case you didn't tune in last week, I'm sworn to this family.
This week on Game of Thrones, I am swearing to Catelyn Stark again. Just so everybody knows. Just so you're aware. And that's the only downside I could say for Brienne. Otherwise, you're right, dude. They brought her to life really well. They give her enough to do in the show, but the epic throwdown with the Hound, holy shit,
that was really good.
So good. So good.
All right, so that brings us to prediction time. Or not predictions, somewhat predictions, somewhat what are you looking forward to? What do you hope happens versus what do you think will happen for season 8? And just to remind everybody, we will be doing Patreon exclusive weekly wrap up of the show, probably hopefully around 20 minutes. Might go longer a couple times, but we're gonna try and keep it at 20 minutes. Just a weekly wrap up after each episode. Those go up every week Friday throughout season 8 of the show. So weekly wrap up, looking to what's going to happen on the next episode. So right before the next episode, you can listen to us on Fridays on Patreon. Get over there.
What will that series be called? Good sir?
Warg It To Me.
Warg It To Me. Check it out, guys.
All right, so season 8. What do you got? I have a lot here, so I'm sure we'll touch on some of the same things.
I'll try to say mine as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go too deep into it because
I don't want to over-speculate.
Yeah, I don't want to over-speculate, and we're going to be talking about it all season long, and I want the show to be able to play itself out.
Okay, so here goes. I think Jon Snow will defeat the Night King pretty early. He's going to shove his sword into...
most likely a battle in season 3.
Yeah, or episode 3.
It looks like it's going to be a battle.
That's what all the evidence points to. I think they've said there will be. So I think during the Battle of Winterfell.
Well, and they've got the director that's done all the battles. Yeah.
Yep. So I think during that time, Jon's going to stab Daenerys in the heart. And
Daenerys?
Yeah.
Oh,
his one true love.
I don't think she's his true love, but okay.
I think it is. I think they're going to push that way too hard. So he'll defeat the Night King. I think... basically, the entire kingdom's going to be split up into 7 kingdoms with their own rulers and democratic parties, and everyone will kind of go on their way. But
so no throne.
I think they're going to. I think the throne's donezo.
Okay.
And that's about it. I think Tyrion will probably die. The other big death I'm going with is Daenerys.
I would like that to happen. I think Daenerys should die because I think that's part of her arc. But I also think that there might be something else to her. So I'm going to say what I want to or think will happen throughout the season and then where I think some of the main characters end up. So what I want to see that I don't think we'll see it is what motivates the White Walkers. Why are they trying to spread their winter across the land? I don't think we're going to get that. I think it's just going to be they're zombies, they're evil, they're trying to take over the world.
That's a good point. I'd love to see what is their fucking motivation.
Yeah. I think Howland Reed shows up. I think he has to give like some actual credence to R+L=J because nobody's going to believe it if you've got a kid who can talk to trees and somebody who read an old book, like putting their stories together. Like there needs to be somebody who was actually there. And the only person that was there is Howland. Mira just returned to Greywater Watch. So I think she'll get him, bring him back, like tell him what's going on with Bran and make their way back.
I would love that, and the Crannogmen also have a tendency to use magic, where they're more of like a magical group of
so that
people.
that could come in handy against the White Walkers, definitely.
I think if they go that route and introduce Howland, That would be really cool. That may kind of explain what the White Walker's motivation is. Like,
yeah, they could do that too.
I digress. Go for it.
And then along with Howland coming, hopefully we would actually learn what happened at the tourney of Harrenhal, who the Knight of the Laughing Tree was, and what actually happened with Rhaegar and Lyanna. Did they meet at the tourney of Harrenhal because she was the Knight of the Laughing Tree? Did they agree to meet up and run away together? Did they run away together? How long were they gone together? You know, what actually happened between those two? Is this an ill-fated love story, or is it what we've been told in a kidnapping? And Howland's one of the people that can answer that. I don't think we'll get that answer either. But I'd like to see it.
That'd be nice.
I think we're going to see that Gendry knows how to work Valyrian steel.
Yes, that's a theory I've heard, and I love that theory.
That's a theory I've subscribed to because, and I'm not going to say I made it up out of whole cloth, but like it's one that I thought of on my own, but it has credence because when ice is reworked into Widow's Wail and Oathkeeper, there is one blacksmith in King's Landing who knows how. He doesn't know how to make Valyrian steel, but he knows how to rework Valyrian steel, and that's how they make ice into two different swords. The blacksmith who did that was the person who Gendry was apprenticing for.
Yeah,
so
Gendry's
like I think
master.
Yeah, I think Gendry knows how to at least rework it, but maybe even build swords in that way.
I think it's I don't know. I'll throw the theory out there. I think it's dragon glass and steel.
Could be. And a lot of heat.
Yeah.
Probably dragon fire. Yeah. What's going on in Ashai? This is another one that's going to be really hard to get an answer for. Melisandre has to return from Essos at some point. So maybe we'll learn more about Ashai through her because she's from Ashai. I don't know. I feel like if she shows back up, it's just going to be to die. Yeah. I don't know that we're going to get too big of a look.
I think she might bring the army that follows R'hllor. I don't remember what they're called. The Flaming Hearts or something?
They're like the flame finger. It's something with 5. There's 5 like elite ones, and they're fingers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something like that. That could be
possible.
I like that idea. Dany's definitely pregnant after this one bone session with Jon.
Definitely.
Whether they end up in love or opposed at any point, like she's definitely pregnant. Whether that baby actually comes out or not, that's a different story. And I think that Bran will warg into a dragon. I think because he'll never walk again, but he will fly. I think he wargs into Viserion, and that's how he brings the Night King down for a fight.
That would be pretty cool. I'd rather see Bran warg into Nymeria and bring the wolf pack.
I think that might happen too, but I think that, well, Arya hasn't shown any powers, so she probably wouldn't do it. In the books, That's more likely. But that I think both can happen.
That'd be so cool.
He can control more than one thing. But yeah, I think he can. I think he'll warg into Viserion and just bring the Night King crashing down. Basically, I think they'll try and send Drogon or Rhaegal at the Night King, and like they just won't be able to get anywhere. The dragons will probably be close to dying, and he'll have to do something to bring him down, and then Jon can have kind of a one-on-one fight with him.
Dope. That'd be super dope.
Yeah, I put a lot of thought in this. I just hope the writers do too. Because these things make sense, right?
I've put a ton of thought into this, and they definitely do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss that, but I put a ton of thought into this. I kind of just want to hold that to the chest, though. As we do these Patreon episodes, that's when I'll probably dive in for sure and talk about my hair-brain things.
And I'll probably get deeper into mine. I'm just kind of scratching the surface of these a little bit, but I just hope that they put in the thought that should, because so many fans have put in so much thought to it and things make sense. Like, let's make things make sense and stick the landing. Because if you stick the landing, people will overlook what happened in season 6 and season 7.
Most definitely. And it will go down as the most epic show in history.
Yeah. So then I got a little bit of where the characters end up. So with Dany, I think she's either on the throne. She'll be the queen over ashes and charred bones. Like her father predicted about Robert. Or she dies and her child that she's pregnant with becomes king over ashes and charred bones, basically. Like, I think a throne will be there, and it will be for Daenerys or her heir to take. but it won't mean anything.
Yeah, I think it's at this point, that makes a lot of sense. It's basically become redundant.
Mm-hmm. And then with Jaime and Cersei, I think Jaime kills Cersei, obviously, fulfills the Valonqar prophecy, chokes her with his golden hand. But I think it happens kind of like as she's giving the order to light the wildfire, basically. Mm-hmm. So I think he kills her, but the wildfire still goes off. Like he's not in his queen slaying. He hesitates too much and isn't able to do what he was against Aerys. So he kills her, but the wildfire goes off, and then Jaime kind of dies in Cersei's arms, and maybe Bran's there too, looking on, and he kind of dies with his hand around Cersei's throat, but also in Brienne's arms, and then they kind of get engulfed by wildfire at the same time.
That'd be so sad.
Again, yeah, it's supposed to be a bittersweet ending. I've put a lot of thought into this. Please, writers, put thought into it. I don't care if these things exactly happen. Like, I don't want to set myself up for like a Star Wars The Last Jedi fandom thing where these people had all these theories, and because the movie didn't live up to any of their theories, they all got mad and pissed off because, Snoke didn't do anything. The movie didn't make Snoke to be big. All of you people talking about Snoke made him up to be big.
Pretty much. He wasn't the focus.
No, he was never the focus, even in the Force Awakens. He was big because he was a hologram, not because he was like, not... they make me mad, those people.
Star Wars people. But I do want to say something about this Jaime thing. Uh-huh. I technically think Jaime will be the one who kills Cersei, but I think it'll be Arya. I think she will take Jaime's face, and she's going to go down there, she's going to be in the room, and Cersei's like... forgives Jaime, basically. I'm so excited to see you. My brother's come to save me. And she goes to kiss him and possibly has, some poison on her lips or something. Or,
nah, she'll do it needle.
Dude, that would be...
I'm needle behind her back.
Cersei has the poison on her lips. So, Arya goes to take Jaime's face off and is like, you're going to die. I'm going to stab the shit out of you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, suck it, bitch. I poisoned you. Eat me. And then, boom. That'll be it.
Then we have a big lesbian love scene to cap it all off. I got you. The only problem with that theory is that Jaime has to be dead for... Arya can't just take anybody's face. The person has to be dead.
Not true. How did Jack and Hagar used Arya's face, and she wasn't dead?
That was a trick of the light. Wasn't a real thing.
Bologna and cheese.
No, the faceless men can only take faces off dead people. I've fought this battle for too long. All right, with Jon, I think he returns to the Wall as the 1000th Lord Commander. I've said that many, many times. He was the 998th Lord Commander, and then he left, leaving somebody else to be the 999th. I think he returns to become the 1000th. Why else would you make the number 998?
Jorah Mormont.
What?
He's going to be the 1000th.
Oh, I got you. No, Jorah's definitely dead. Sorry.
I got Jorah's 5 on it. I got 5 on it.
All right. Yeah, I'll take that bet. I think Sansa becomes the Lady of Winterfell. That's pretty easy.
I agree.
She's the only one left.
Totally agree.
Arya and Gendry end up happily ever after, ruling the Riverlands.
That would be cool.
That would be cool, but actually they're probably both going to die.
Probably, which makes me so sad.
I think all of the Starks have to die other than Sansa. I think the pack has to survive, but the lone wolves will not. Bran doesn't die. Bran goes actually back to the tree to be the Three-Eyed Raven. He's no longer Stark. He's just in a fucking tree for the rest of his life, like Bloodraven was.
Lame.
But I think Arya has to die. Jon takes his place on the Wall, leaving Sansa to help the pack survive.
I think there's some merit to that. That's for sure.
There's a lot of foreshadowing to Arya's death in the books as well. Being, with Melisandre, even in the show, telling her she'll know death, and in the books there's this line. It's from Ned or Jon that the whole world will freeze over and she'll be there frozen with a needle in her hand, like as a joke to how she hates sewing or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's more likely an allusion to that she's going to die, and she's kind of the lone wolf of the Starks. Like, she went off on her own, so the lone wolf dies, but the pack, there's a lot to hint that Arya will die in the books, which sucks because Arya's great.
Such a great character.
Sam survives. He writes the history of the world of Ice and Fire. Obviously, he turns himself into George R.R. Martin. That's pretty much set up, I think.
I think so too. Very Lord of the Rings-esque. Mm-hmm. There and back again type type deal.
Yeah. And then Tyrion is he probably stays. He'll be the Lord of Casterly Rock. They'll need a lord. Jaime and Cersei both dead. Their baby to be dead. I think Tyrion should probably die just because I think that would complete his arc. But at the same time, Dinklage is too good to let go, and they'd want him around for like spinoffs and things. Like if you ever want to do something in the future, you could attach Peter Dinklage to it and be like, all right, we're going to tell the story of what's going on at Casterly Rock now with Tyrion.
Yeah, and everybody would be all on board for that.
Absolutely. So I think Tyrion probably sticks around. I think everyone else that I didn't name probably either dies in the battle with the White Walkers or in the wildfire down south.
It's a lot of deaths. It's a lot of deaths.
Well, not like literally everybody. Like Lyanna Mormont, she'll probably survive. But like Jorah, dead. Hound, dead. Mountain, dead.
Beric,
Gendry, dead. Beric, dead. For good. Tormund, definitely dead.
So sad.
Euron, dead. Yara, dead. Theon, dead. Get rid of those damn Iron Islanders.
Yeah, fuck them.
My biggest thing for season 8 that I'm excited about is for it to be over so we get rid of all the hot take theories from the show-only viewers. There are so many bad theories on Game of Thrones Reddit right now.
So many, dude. It's terrible. They're entertaining, though.
Have you seen Littlefinger's a faceless man?
Yes.
All Bran, everything. Just Bran's doing everything all the time, which why tell a story then?
He's the Night King.
Bran's the Night King. There's ways you could pull that off in a good way. I just hope they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's a Targaryen.
Yeah, basically.
Like every other person's somehow a Targaryen. Because Jon's a Targaryen, now everybody has to be a Targaryen.
That'd be so dumb. That would be so cheap.
So much bad theorizing going on. But yeah, like there have been like the Littlefinger with the faceless men, or like it's either like he hired the faceless men. There's that theory to pretend to be him and get killed, or he was a faceless man. Like it's so dumb. Littlefinger served his purpose. He reached the end of his arc. His arc was to get caught up in his own web of lies and die. He died.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Sansa needed to best him in the Game of Thrones, and she did. In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. Stay classy. That's the end.
Leave it like
that. We're not going to end better than that. No.
That was perfect.
So that is really most of my thoughts. I hope it's good. I want season 8 to be good. Once it's all said and done, I'll probably at some point go back and do a full rewatch. If the ending to season 8 is good, I'll most likely be able to, like we said, I'll be able to overlook Dorne. I'll be able to overlook season 6 and most of season 7 if they stick the landing.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on it.
The
sure.
First 4 seasons are so good, and I love them. And like I'll want to watch those over and over again. Is season 8 going to be worth me watching 5 through 8 over and over again?
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes, it is.
I want George's ending too. We need it.
I have to have it, dude. I'll be so fucking pissed if I don't get the books.
Yeah.
Gotta find out.
And again, even if he doesn't write them, if these guys that did World of Ice and Fire have to finish it, so be it.
But be it.
I want his ending. Even if this is a good ending, I want the real ending.
True that.
If you like this episode or the Kingslayer episode, again, episode 46, go check it out. Be sure to tune in to the Patreon exclusive War Get To Me starting April 19th. Had to look at a calendar.
It'll be fun.
It's going to be fun. We're going to do a weekly recap of what happened and, look to the future, just talk about our theories and things as the show goes. Hopefully they're good, well thought out theories, not Game of Thrones Reddit theories.
Totally agree. It'll be a ton of fun, guys. I hope to see you there.
Always follow us on Twitter and talk to us about whatever the hell we're talking about, because we're always on there talking. I'm at APA something. Nick is at alone_podcast.
Nice.
So check us out there. Hit us up. Also, what the hell else do we say here? There's a lot of things. I can't always keep these things straight.
Rate and review us on iTunes, guy.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, that helps us out a ton. We've been seeing more ratings and reviews pop up, or at least I've been checking, and I really appreciate the kind words from you guys. We do it for you. So leave us some rating reviews. It's the best way to support a show other than donating straight cash money.
Oh, yeah, we got that too. You can hit us up, as we've said before, on Patreon. There's other things other than War Get To Me. We got pilot projections and random reviews. Check those out. Patreon.com/podcastaboutSomething. And there's a donate button on our website on the About Us page. You can just donate one time. Anything, all helps. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And our music, as always, is provided by Those Cats. Check them out. They're great.
And you guys stay sassy.
Stay classy.